All right, thanks, guys. We are currently 7-2 in our last 9 premium picks on patreon.com/Brock Page. We're also 4-0 in our last 4 daily best play picks on that website. Link for that site is in the description section below. That is patreon.com/Brock Page. All right, let's go ahead and get into our slate of college basketball action here for Thursday. And we are going to begin with Maryland. Let's see if we can see that a little better. There we go. Maryland taking on Seton Hall. And that's going to be a 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off in that matchup. The Terrapins are the 6.5-point favorite away from home. Totals at 139. Saw a half a point move toward Maryland and movement downward on the total. The Terrapins open as the 6-point favorite, up to -6.5. Total open 143, down to 139. 62% of the consensus are leaning toward Maryland. 67% shaded toward the over. Right now, Seton Hall is plus 250 on the money line. Now, the Pirates have dropped their last 2 straight. They also failed to cover in 3 out of their last 5 games. Seton Hall lost by 20 points to Rutgers, and they lost by 10 points to Iowa State. Those were back-to-back games. Those were their last 2 contests. So in their last 2 games, they lost by a combined 30 points. Now, Maryland on the other side, 10-1 straight up overall for the year. They have some marquee victories over the likes of Illinois, Notre Dame, Marquette, Temple, and Rhode Island. They're averaging 77 points per contest, and they rank in the top 15 in offensive rebounding. Anthony Cowan is averaging 17 points a game, 4 rebounds, 4 assists for the Terrapins. He's also shooting 38% from downtown. Jalen Smith's averaging 14 points a game, 10 rebounds, and 3 blocks. And of course, Aaron Wiggins, 16 rebounds a game, 11 points on average. And he is also shooting 70% from the stripe. Now, this Maryland squad has held their opponents to 69 points or less in 8 out of their last 10 games. They're holding their opponents to just 62 points per contest on average for the year. They rank in the top 20 in defensive field goal percentage, and 3 out of their last 4 did stay under the total. So with all that said and done, I'm going to lean toward the Terrapins in this spot here. Give me Maryland -6.5 and the under 139 in that game. Next matchup, Wofford taking on Duke, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off, Cameron Indoor Stadium. The Blue Devils are the 18-point favorite, total at 143. Saw a 1.5-point fade of Duke and movement downward on the total. The Blue Devils open as the 19.5-point favorite, down to -18. Total open 145, down to 143. 51% are leaning Duke, 66% shaded toward the over. Right now, Wofford's plus 1750 on the money line. Now, Wofford's right in the middle of a 5-game winning streak, 5-0 straight up in their last 5 matchups. They beat UNC 68-64 just a couple of days ago on the 15th. Nice victory for the program there. They're averaging 76 points per contest, and they're shooting 47.5% from the field. Storm Murphy's averaging 15 points a game for the Terriers. He's also shooting 55% from the field and 93% from the stripe. Nate Hoover, 14 points a game, 5 rebounds. He's shooting 94% from the foul line as well. And Chavez Goodwin, 5 rebounds a game, 2 blocks. We're looking at a Wofford team who ranks in the top 25 in offensive three-point percentage. They're also in the top 30 in offensive free throw percentage and the top 30 in defensive rebounding. Now, Duke on the other side, they failed to cover in 4 out of their last 7. They're shooting just 68% from the stripe, and they failed to cover in 3 out of their 5 games at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Now, Duke 7-2 to the over in their last 9. Wofford, 2 out of their last 3 got over the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward the heavy double-digit underdog in this one. Give me Wofford plus 18 and the over 143 in that game. All right, next matchup, not currently on our board in the back, but it is going to be UTEP taking on Houston. 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off in that game. The Cougars are the 12.5-point favorite, total at 128 and a hook. Now we saw a 2-point move toward Houston and movement upward on the total. The Cougs opened as the 10.5-point favorite, up to -12.5. Total open 126.5, up to 128 and a hook. 51% of the consensus are actually leaning toward UTEP. 74% shaded toward the over. And right now, UTEP is plus 655 on the money line. Now, I think UTEP, they're the Miners. I know that they're logo is the pickaxe, right? The axe. But anyway, speaking of Houston, the Houston Cougars are 4-1 straight up in their last 5. They rank in the top 10 in the country in offensive rebounding. They're averaging 78 points per contest, and they're shooting 36% from downtown. Quentin Grimes, 15 points a game, 4 rebounds for him. Nate Hinton, 13 points a game, 9 rebounds. He's also shooting 43% from downtown. And Fabian White, 10 points a game, 6 rebounds. He's shooting 75% from the stripe for the Cougars. This Houston defense, they're holding their opponents to just 38% from the field in their games this season. They also rank in the top 10 in home offensive rebounding. Now, Houston's 4-0 to the under in their last 4 straight. UTEP 4-2 to the under in their last 6. I'm going to lean Houston Cougars minus 12.5 in the under 128.5 in that game. And before we go ahead and move on, just want to take another quick timeout and welcome you to the show. Got some lines and personal leans out for Thursday's college basketball action. Happy Thursday to you. The weekend is almost here. We're almost there. Now, before we go ahead and dive into some more free lines and personal leans right here on YouTube, I just want to quickly remind you once again to check me out on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage, where we are 7-2 in our last 9 premium picks on that website. We're also 4-0 in our last 4 daily best play picks on that site. That tier, that membership is just $1.99 per month. We're also 5-3 in our last 8 daily double picks on that site, which that particular membership's just $2.99 per month. We do daily premium picks on that site. We have a bunch of different memberships, tiers, and packages that you can subscribe to. And if you want to check out my current record on Patreon, you can do that for free right now. All you have to do is click the link in the description section below. That is patreon.com/BrockPage. All right, let's go ahead and dive into some more free lines and personal leans right here on YouTube. All starts Eastern Standard Time. And on deck, we've got NC State taking on Auburn. 9 o'clock Eastern tip-off in that contest. The Tigers of Auburn, they are the 7.5-point favorite, total at 151.5. We saw a 1-point move toward Auburn and movement upward on the total. The Tigers open 6.5 up to minus 7.5. Total open 151 up to 151.5. 54% are leaning NC State. 60% shaded toward the over. Right now, the Wolfpack, they're plus 290 on the money line. Now, NC State, they're 8-1 straight up in their last 9, 4-1 against the spread in their last 5. The Wolfpack ranks in the top 20 in scoring, top 40 in offensive field goal percentage. C.J. Bryce is averaging 16 points a game for NC State. He's also averaging 7 rebounds a game, 2 steals, and he's shooting 41% from downtown. Devin Daniels, 11 points a game, 4 rebounds, 2 steals. He's shooting 50% from the field. And Jericho Helms, 11 points a game, 4 rebounds for NC State. The Wolfpack's averaging 83 points per contest. They're also shooting 48% from the field and 38% from downtown. One more thing to add about the Wolfpack, they're shooting 51% from the field when traveling. Now, Auburn, on the other side, they failed to cover the point spread in their last 2 games. They failed to cover against St. Louis and Furman. Their offense is shooting just 63% from the foul line, and they failed to cover in 2 out of their last 4 games at home. Now, total-wise, Auburn's 4-0 to the over. 4-0 to the over at home. Meanwhile, NC State 3-0 to the over when traveling. I'm going to purchase the 0.5 point, buy it up, and take NC State plus 8. And the over 151.5 in that game. All right, next couple of games here, they are not on the board in the back, but we do have lines for those games, so they are technically on the board, but they're not on our big screen in the back. But we have 2 more games to cover, so let's go ahead and get into it. Next matchup, Montana State taking on Cal State Bakersfield. 10 o'clock Eastern tip-off in that game. Bakersfield is minus 4, total at 134. We saw a 1.5-point move toward Bakersfield and movement upward on the total. So once again, Cal State Bakersfield open minus 2.5 up to minus 4. Total open 133 up to 134. 51% are leaning Bakersfield, 63% shaded toward the over. Right now, Montana State is plus 160 on the money line. Now, Montana State's 6-4 straight up on the year, 5-3 against the spread in their last 8. They're holding their opponents to just 66 points per contest and 39% from the field. They're also ranking in the top 40 in the country in defensive three-point percentage. Harold Fry, 17 points a game, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals. He's also shooting 91% from the stripe. Jabril Bello, 12 points a game, 5 rebounds. And Amin Adamu, 11 points per game, 4 rebounds. He's shooting 47% from the field. On a side note, all 3 of those players are not American-born players. So Montana State doing a great job internationally recruiting. But anyway, Montana State, they are shooting 46% from the field on the road. They also rank in the they rank in the top 15 in defensive field goal percentage on the road, and they are allowing just 65 points per contest when traveling. Now, Cal State Bakersfield on the other side, losers in their last 3 straight. They've also dropped 6 out of their last 8 games. They're just 1-8 against the spread in their last 9, and they're allowing their opponents to score 71 points per contest. Now, total-wise, we're looking at a Montana State team on the other side who is 5-3 to the under overall for the year, 5-1 to the under when traveling. I'm going to lean Montana State +4 and the under 134 in that game. And I'm going to slide to my next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Portland State taking on Loyola Marymount, and that's going to be a 10 o'clock Eastern tip-off in that game. Loyola Marymount, they are the 3-point favorite, total at 142.5. We saw a 1-point fade of Loyola and movement downward on the total. Marymount opened 4, down to -3. Total open 143, down to 142.5. 59% are leaning Loyola, 78% shaded toward the under. And right now, Portland State is plus $1.35 on the money line. Now, Portland State is just 1-5 straight up on the road this year. They're allowing 75 points per contest, and they're just 4-6 straight up in their last 10. One more thing to add about Portland State, they're allowing 81 points per contest away from home. Now, 2 out of Loyola's last 3 games, they were victorious in. They're also 4-1 straight up at home. They're ranking in the top 5 in the country in offensive field goal percentage. They're also ranking in the top 25 in offensive three-point percentage. Now, total-wise, Loyola is 4-0 to the over in their last 4. Meanwhile, 7 out of Portland State's last 9 games got over the total as well. I'm going to lean toward the home chalk in this one. Give me Loyola Marymount -3 and the over 142.5 in that game. All right, guys, let's go ahead and dive into our quick pick recap. Once again, brought to you by patreon.com/BrockPage, where we are 7-2 in our last 9 premium picks on that website. I like Loyola Marymount -3 over 142.5. Montana State +4 under 134. NC State +8 over 151.5. Houston -12.5 under 128 and a hook. Wofford +18 over 143. And last but certainly not least, I like Maryland -6.5 and the under 139 in that game. All right, let's go ahead and dive into some shout-outs. Once again, brought to you by patreon.com/BrockPage, where we are 4-0 in our last 4 daily best plays. Real Hicks for Love, Justin McCrory, RT Mason, Tom Niemiller, Billy Boogaloo, Dirk Diggler, Darnell Owens, 88 LaRon, Vernon Williard, Evil Dax, Patrick Cortez, Joe Me the Money, Black's Blazer, and last but certainly not least, shout out to Square 707 Steam PS4. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon, where once again, we have different memberships, tiers, and packages, premium picks on that site, beginning at just $1.99 per month. Now, what we do on Patreon is we really kind of narrow it down and focus in on just 3 to 4 premium selections per day. They're high percentage games, high percentage picks, and they're games that I personally have action on. Really, the main difference between what I do on Patreon is we narrow it down on Patreon, whereas what we do here on YouTube is we handicap every single game on the board, throwing darts, side and total. So if you want more premium, high percentage selections, Patreon is where you want to be. And I'll tell you this much, my current Patreon record is a whole lot better than it is handicapping every single game on the board, side and total here on YouTube. So link for that site is in the description section below. You can also check out my current record for free. It's right on the homepage. All you have to do is click the link in the description section below. That is patreon.com/BrockPage. But most importantly, guys, I do have to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. Happy Thursday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you on patreon.com/BrockPage.